Digital dangers protecting children and youth in the online world. A deep dive into drug abuse, addiction, and the impact on youth, families, and society. Exploring the challenges of voter suppression, misinformation, and civic engagements. Examining violations, legal battles, and the role of activism in protecting freedom. Live from F-Line 24 Newsroom, I am Emmanuel Malukichengo and welcome our viewers in Kenya and around the world. We are with you for the next 25 minutes. Thank you for joining us and stay with us as we explore these crucial issues. In today's fast-evolving digital world and age, it has provided young people with new opportunities for education, connection, and creativity. It has also allowed them to be more connected than ever, learning, playing, and socializing online. But alongside the opportunities lie growing dangers from cyberbullying and online predators to harmful content and digital misinformation. How can we ensure that children and youth navigate the online world safely?
I feel like kids should not be exposed to social media at a younger age, because one thing, I feel like kids will be too exposed and they will face a lot of cyberbullying when they are young. And
there is the issue of comparison. Some people feel they have to live the life they're seeing on social media, and it could cause depression because you feel like you're not living up to a certain mark held in society.
Social media addiction among children is on the rise, raising alarm among parents and experts. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube are drawing kids in for hours daily, impacting their sleep, mental health, and academic performance. Experts warn that excessive screen time is linked to anxiety, depression, and reduced social skills. Parents are being urged to set limits and encourage offline activities. Authorities are also pushing for stricter age restrictions and better digital literacy education. Stay with us for more on how to protect your child online. So, Christine, what are the most common online threats that children and
teenagers? Well, for instance, we have online predators who tend to expose themselves nudely to young people. They're also exposed to explicit content online. And they also experience cyberbullying from people who give negative comments on their posts, in their stories, or anything that they share to the world.
Children recognize and avoid dangerous situations online.
They can, practice open communication. They talk to their children about the dangers of the internet, dangers they might face online, and they can, practice transparency with their children.
On to our next segment. The rise of drug abuse, especially among young people, is growing, and it has affected many families and communities alike. From illicit street drugs to prescription medication misuse, the impact is devastating.
Drug abuse among university students is a rising concern. It leads to declined academic performance, health issues, and broken careers. Awareness, support, and timely intervention can make a difference. Say no to drugs. Your future depends on it.
Alright, I think campus students indulge in drugs, one, because of peer pressure. I don't know if it counts as peer pressure in university, but yes, everyone is doing it, you want to join in. Two, just the stress of education and you want to relieve yourself of all you're feeling. I feel like pointing out a certain man who has given us a very hard project to do, but it is well. So you go to relieve yourself with drugs. I think these are the major ones, coupled with stress at home and emotional distress.
What do you think is a major factor that drives the youth to abuse drugs? I think drug abuse is a common factor, especially the young generation, especially the youths. When we look at the major factors, we have to put into context the common three drugs that are widely abused is what we call stimulants, depressants, and hallucinogens. So when I talk about stimulants, these are drugs that make people feel high, especially the young generation. Example of stimulants is issues to do with caffeine, cocaine. They stimulate the nervous system.
Drug abuse has become a crucial topic in today's world. From people taking things like marijuana, cocaine, and many more. This drug abuse addiction is caused by things like anxiety, depression, and many more. Back to you on Studio Maluki.
Peer pressure, mental health struggles, social media influence, and easy access are fueling a dangerous trend. Experts warn that children as young as the age of 13 and below are being exposed to opioids, vaping substances laced with narcotics, and over-the-counter medications being misused for highs. How do we tackle this epidemic today? We take a closer look.
Relationships that person has. And the quality here, I'm talking about how open, how safe, how free, how comfortable the youth is with the person they're relating with. Such that there's, let's say, transparency in what they do on a day-to-day basis. And if I say I'm going to do something, let's say I'm the youth in this case, then you've known me as a person who follows through. But then when you start seeing irregularities, when you start seeing me saying that I couldn't do it, and then I say I'm going to do it next time and I don't do it, you want to be able to ask me why I'm not able to do it, to follow up on those irregularities. Because like I said in the other question, drug use starts very quietly and very slowly. The person abusing the drug might not be aware they're abusing the drug. So initially, they might make a lot of effort to hide the problem, but they're denying that there is a problem to themselves, and the denial is unconscious. So you might find them working very hard to do the things that they didn't need to work so hard for. So if, let's say, you were supposed to meet for a movie, and your friend is late for the movie, half an hour or 1 hour, the quality of your relationship is going to allow you the freedom to ask why the other person is late, and the other person would also feel the need to explain to you why they're late. So that's quality is very important. So if they're late for half an hour, for 1 hour, and maybe they were spending that half an hour using the drug, but they had to refresh perhaps their oral cavity to not have the smell, they had to spray perhaps a lot of perfume to not have the cigarette smell. Then when they come to you late and you notice that they've applied more perfume than usual, the quality of your relationship would allow you access to ask the teenager that question, right? Yeah. And that would be an early warning sign. You'd be able to pick it that there's a problem with their use of a particular substance very early. But if you don't have that close relationship with the youth, then this will go into days, weeks, months before you actually start realizing that there's a problem. Before now you start putting things together and realizing they are not adding up. So the quality of relationships that youths have is very key to identifying early warning signs of drug abuse.
Okay.
Meanwhile, on democracy, it is the foundation of our governance, and it has been tested by challenges such as misinformation, political division, and threats to free and fair elections. What does the future hold for democratic institutions and our country as a whole?
We will not speak this. We will continue holding these spaces here, and we will continue meandering in streets here. Let us take this time and speak truth to power. I have been as short as a miniskirt, but long enough to cover the essentials. This time, if the youths are not on the table, we are breaking the table. Comrades, power! Thank you, comrades, viva! Thank you, comrade. Thank you, comrade.
Democracy is the cornerstone of modern societies, giving people the power to shape their own governance. But in today's world, how well is democracy really working? With rising misinformation, deepening political polarization, and growing concerns over voter suppression, many are beginning to ask, is democracy really serving us all?
From manipulated narratives on social media to growing polarization between communities, the public's confidence in free and fair elections is being tested and it's also shaken. Voter turnout in some regions is dropping, while elsewhere allegations of voter suppressions and electoral interference are on the rise. And how can citizens play a role in strengthening democracy?
I believe the state of democracy is on the decline, simply because a lot of young people don't believe in the institutions when it comes to voting. So there was a study that was done by The Guardian sometime in September of 2023, and it talked about how globally young people are not believing in democracy, less and less, but it's mostly in Western or European countries where we see it more as compared to Africa, which with Africa we have an extremely young population. But when you look at the countries that have civil unrest, we've had almost 10 coups in the last 5 years. And most of these coups are led by military leaders who are below the age of 40. And most people would be able to identify with Mali at the moment because of Ibrahim Traoré. So it shows you that when it comes to access to power, which democracy is supposed to be, majority have their say, and we. But what we're seeing is young people are utilizing the military or military action to get into power. So that shows you that democracy is not working in some places in our continent.
Do you think that the youth not participating in general elections or voting democracy in our country today?
Absolutely, I do. Because what happens is when it comes to democracy, it's about people having access to power, participating, and being represented. And so when you talk about having the military involved, the people, civilians, are removed from that process. So their say or their opinion is no longer utilized, and that for me is a concern.
So what role can the media play in supporting all these things that undermine democracy in these countries, be it in Africa or the other European continents?
Freedom of expression is a huge benefit to democracy because it utilizes the very essence of people being able to share their opinions, their views, and diversity. And what happens is when you have large media houses owned by politicians or aristocrats, it minimizes freedom of expression. So the good thing is social media has brought about free media, independent media, but we're also beginning to see large social media platforms being very politically involved, and we don't have to look far to see that. Even in the US, with President Trump's inauguration, the fact that he had 5 of the top gurus in technology in his inauguration, very visible and present, shows you that we're beginning to see a mesh between media, independent media, social media, and also politics. So it's a concern because when you have individuals who own a big majority of media, then it means that it's no longer free. The only way we can have free media is we can have access to ownership. When a few people own media, then that means they own control. And that's the direction that the world is taking.
So what steps can the government take in protecting democracy in these countries?
The government has to be clear in terms of freedom of expression, in terms of minimization of misinformation, disinformation, and not being involved. Because what we see is a conflict of interest. A lot of governments, especially in Africa, they have signed agreements with social media platforms. Some of them have shares. They might not openly say that. They have family members who sit on boards on some of these social media platforms. So it's to have less involvement of government, separating private entities and public entities. If there is a public and private partnership, it has to be agreed upon transparently, not in closed doors and not in ways that the public doesn't have access to.
We'll be right back after these short messages.
Escape the ordinary and set sail on a journey like no other. Experience breathtaking views on Hong Kong's iconic skyline, indulge in a world-class dining, and enjoy unforgettable entertainment, all aboard our luxurious cruise. Whether it's a romantic getaway, a family adventure, or a weekend escape, the perfect voyage awaits. Sail, indulge, discover. Book now and embark on the ultimate cruise experience.
Finally, on to our last segments. Human rights remain at the core of justice and equality, yet violations persist in various forms around the globe, from discrimination to unlawful detentions.
What's your take on youth involvement in politics?
I think that the young people in Kenya are very active. The involvement with matters to do with politics. Recently, we've seen them calling out the government on issues which they think are affecting Kenyans, including the rising cost of living, the illegal abductions and illegal arrests, and also the health system which they think is being mismanaged. My take or my advice is that we as the young people need to keep up with the good work that we're doing, and I think we need to unite if we want to see change in the political space in Kenya. Thank you.
Given the various reports on high level of corruption and the slow pace of prosecutions, there's a lot of corruption, but no one is being held accountable. Is the current legal framework is the current legal framework sufficient enough to hold powerful individuals accountable, or does Kenya need radical legal reforms to dismantle the corruption networks?
Okay, when it comes to law, like laws are there. With regards to it's usually like there are laws already put in place for when it comes to corruption. We also have the EACC, which is also in place. But what I can say is, right now you've also seen the circulars that are going around, the discussion that is going around, that there is that plan to host the CJ before 2027, and the allegations are that the judiciary as a whole, even the CJ herself, like everyone in the judiciary is corrupt. The allegations, they're not yet proven, but you've also seen like powerful people being arrested for corruption. For instance, the former Kiambu governor, I can't remember his name, but he was arrested, and how far did that case go? Not far enough, right? There was this day from the western region that was buying cars for his kids, big cars, and then he had overseas accounts that he had that are unaccountable for, and that also didn't we're not sure. Going with the current public information that is there in the public, we're not sure if that was seen to its completion, But we can say there's also that argument that if a chicken seller is arrested today, they're gonna be prosecuted for stealing a chicken. But when the big fish is gonna be arrested, one way or the other, they're gonna find their way out. And I'm not going to beat around the bush with regards to corruption and everything. Let me give you a very good example of you can always buy justice at the end of the day. It's the Paul Ongili, aka Babu case, when he shot the DJ. See, at the end of the day, when it comes to attempted murder cases, things like that, they don't go through diversion. They're not supposed to go through diversion. But Babu went ahead and actually overcompensated this guy. So what precedent are we trying to set as a country? That means if I'm a politician, right, and I shoot you, and I have money to buy you out, I can do it.
Despite international treaties and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, millions still suffer. Silenced voices, oppressed minorities, and imprisoned activists remain us that the battle is far from over. How can we work together to uphold and protect these fundamental rights for our citizens?
I think the most pressing, and this cuts across the world, whether what we call the developed countries and the developing countries, is the shrinking civic space. Protesting now seems to be a crime. And this, if you look at Kenya, since June 2024, when young people rose to demand the repeal of the finance bill, 2024. If you look at Mozambique, after what they felt was botched elections, if you look at closer home in Uganda, if you look at Tanzania, in America, university students who have been protesting against the Israel assault on Gaza have actually either been suspended from school or expelled from universities. So the civic space has shrunk to an extent that citizens are not able to express themselves, and with that also comes a shrinking free media, and all these assaults are mainly carried out by governments that fear being held to account. So I would say a shrinking civic space, and the media, the freedom of the media is also under serious strain.
A gripping tale of magic, power and resistance, Tomi Adeyemi's Children of Virtue and Vengeance takes readers deeper into the kingdom of Orisha, where Zeli and Amari must fight to restore balance within the community.
So based on the book Children of Virtue and Vengeance, I see that Amari and Zeli have succeeded to bringing back magic back to the land of Orisha. So what I get is that the magic somehow was stolen or something happened to the magic, and later on we see that it's after the magic was stolen, the clan or culture or the group somehow splitted, and they're trying to bring it back together. So I will read the book so that I can learn what exactly happened, so that the magic was stolen or how the magic got lost.
With breathtaking action and emotional depth, this sequel to Children of Virtue and Vengeance challenges the ideas of leadership, sacrifice, and the true cost of revolution. Will Orisha ever find peace? Find out in this spell-breaking read. That concludes our special report for the day. This issue continues to shape the world we live in, and the need for awareness and action has never been greater than before. Whether it's safeguarding children online, tackling the dangers of drugs, defending democracy, or advocating for human rights, every voice matters. Thank you for watching and joining us tonight. Let's continue this conversation beyond this broadcast. Be sure to stay safe, stay informed, and stay engaged. Until next time, I'm your host, Emmanuel Maluki Django.